Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I am Chef Marcus Giuliano, and I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission, nutrition, one of my favorite missions. And one of my favorite topics, sugar. Okay, first off, I have been opposed to sugar for at least 10 to 12 years. Been opposed to it, consuming it personally. I've been very opposed to putting it in my food at my restaurant because I know the detriment, I know the health effects, the environmental effects. Sugar is not good, and here's the problem. There's several problems. But for years people have said to me, Marcus, do you really believe that stuff about sugar? Sugar's not that bad. I've had family members come to me and say, you know what, I disagree with the way you don't give your kids sugar, and I don't care, my kids can have all the sugar they want. I have people that have told me this endlessly, constantly, that like I'm some kind of weirdo. And I'm like, and I used to argue with people. I used to throw the facts in their face and this and that. But people don't want to listen to you, because if they change their beliefs on it, then all of a sudden they would have to work harder on their diet, and they couldn't go to, Dunkin' Donuts anymore. They couldn't go to McDonald's anymore. They couldn't pick up a soda anymore. They couldn't feed their kids crap from any fast food place. They couldn't do that anymore for their kids or for themselves. So, for them it's easier just to deny it and say, the truth doesn't exist. Well, it might exist, but for me it doesn't exist, because I don't think, I even have bodybuilders come up to me and go, I pump iron so I can metabolize white sugar. I'm like, what? Are you serious? You can metabolize white sugar? Are you kidding me? You might be able to metabolize a banana. You're not metabolizing white sugar. It's just, it's a detriment. Once it gets into your body sends this reaction off because it knows it's a foreign invader. No matter how fit or fat you are, sugar, it's going into our body. It's acting, it's acting in a negative way. Now, here's the thing that kills me. A friend of mine was in the hospital recently, a few months back, and he's out. He's fine now. He's on the beer blogs that I do. But he was in bad shape. He was airlifted out. We were in a bicycle accident. He was in a bicycle accident. I was with him, and he was airlifted out. And so I was in the hospital constantly with him, because he was in an induced coma, and they wanted to start giving him this tube food and Jello and stuff once he was out of his coma and was able to eat. And he just kept pushing the food away from him. He was on a food strike. His wife kept making him juices and everything, and really nutritious foods. But I spoke to the nutritionist the dietitian at Westchester Medical. And I'm like, what is all this sugar and all this corn syrup and this sugar and all this food? And she's like, there's no difference between a teaspoon of corn syrup or sugar versus a pear. And I'm like, you really believe that? Are you like, you're not serious, are you? And she's like, yeah, there's no difference. Your body metabolizes it the same way. And instead of arguing with her, because, she's dead wrong, Westchester Medical, your dietitian is dead wrong, okay? There's a major difference between a pear, an apple, a banana, a mango, a melon, watermelon, versus a tablespoon of sugar. Metabolizing your body a totally different way. So I didn't argue with her. It's just you laugh at people. And the reason why these dietitians think this, okay, to be a dietitian, okay, most states you have to conform with the American Dietetic Association, okay? That's a organization that oversees the education of dietitians. But did you know that the ADA, the American Dietetic Association, when you see those logos on foods and everything, it's useless. It doesn't mean anything, okay? The ADA is funded by Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and the big companies like that are loaded with sugary foods. So these are the ones who actually educate, okay? And the pharmaceutical industry throws another $1 million in there. There's $5 million in funding to the ADA every year from companies that make their livelihood on sugary foods. They're the ones who set forth the standards. So here's a nutritionist or dietitian who graduated with ADA credentials, okay? Who the ADA credentials are now formed by Coke and Pepsi and the big companies like that. So now she's in a major hospital who is overseeing trauma victims, okay? And she's saying that there's no difference in corn syrup or sugar versus a real pear. You should have seen the food that these people were getting. My friend, he kept calling the lady, the dietitian, the sugar lady, because they kept giving him Jell-O, and the guy next to him had like RC Cola cans, and the food, everything had sugar in it at the hospital, sugar, and I'm sitting there in arms. I'm like, can we please do something? And they see it no problem. And for years, sugar has been like this, and for me and for a lot of alternative health practitioners and people who have an alternative mind on health, sugar's been like this for years upon years upon years. In fact, sugar like this goes back to the 1600s. They knew back then that it was bad for you, and doctors told you back then, don't consume sugar, you're sick, don't consume sugar. And all of a sudden, when the Catholic Church got involved in the sugar trade, because they realized how lucrative it was, first off, a great book to read is called The Barons of the Sugar Industry, or the Sugar Barons. It is a deplorable book. The English and everything, when they came into Barbados and all these islands in the Caribbean, you thought our slavery period of our country was bad. These people, horrific with what they did with slaves. Horrific. I had to put the book down and stop reading. It is a horror story to see these, to hear about these slaves that were beheaded, their ears cut off. I mean, if you were a slave and you disobeyed, they would starve you, cut off your ears, roast your ears, and make you eat your own ears. That was your only food. Or they'd roast your body and give it to the other slaves, and it was done on a public display. It is torturous because the sugar plantations. It was all because of sugar plantations, torturous. So the Roman Catholics got involved in the sugar plantation. Now all of a sudden, your doctor couldn't tell you to stop eating sugar because there's too much money in it. So what happens? The Roman Catholics go into the medical school, start sponsoring the medical literature, okay? Now all of a sudden sugar, if you mention sugar, you're a quack as a doctor now. It's in 1700s, 1600s we're talking. So the detriments of sugar have been long known and long documented, and it's nothing new. But people just failed to really step up and really acknowledge it. Well, now all of a sudden 60 Minutes comes out with this big thing. The New York Times did something a couple years ago, which is sort of okay. Now 60 Minutes comes out, mainstream media, and now all of a sudden people are saying, Marcus, I didn't realize what you were saying was true. I didn't realize all this about sugar. I had no idea. That's because you didn't want to have an idea. That's because you're in your own world and it's too easy. But realistically, are you going to change? You're not going to change. You're going to change for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And you're going to realize that because people can just assume that, oh, I don't take sugar out of a bag and put it into my food, I'm going to be sugar-free. Wrong. You have to read every ingredient. You read all your kids' cereals in general. Chocolate milk is loaded. We're driving by a semi yesterday that has a Hershey's chocolate milk logo on it, you know. And I'm looking at my wife and I'm looking at my kids. I'm like, kids, how much sugar do you think is in that truck? I mean, there's probably like a quarter of that truck is filled with sugar because it's in the milk. It's literally that disgusting. So now 60 Minutes blows this up. The sugar industry is retracting. You know, everybody's all of a sudden, you know, like, wow, I had no idea. So I'm making this video because it's ridiculous. You know, people, take responsibility for your own health. Educate, pass the information on, educate. Here's the major problem. It's illegal to give your kids booze. It's illegal to, you know, to give your kids drugs, narcotics, you know, give them cigarettes. But it's not illegal to give them sugar, and sugar is just as detrimental and more addictive than some of these other things that are illegal to give your kids. And every time I see parents are just loading their kids up with sugar and everything for years, I've been like, man, if I could only call Child Protective Services, because what they're doing is a crime. Parents, what you're doing is a crime to your kids with giving them all the sugar. And because you don't want to make an additional step, be lazy, and really not accept the truth, it's child abuse. It's downright child abuse. You have the education, you have the information, you can read, you can watch videos, you can hear, you can listen. Educate yourself. It's mind-boggling that you parents are a lot of you parents are just so lazy that you avoid this whole thing. You wonder why your kids are sick and tired and going to the doctor and getting antibiotics and this and that, and then wonder why they're overweight. And some parents say, well, yeah, my kids will just like when they grow up, they'll, their weight will even out. No, your kid's fat. Your kid's obese. Look what you're giving your kid. Look. And sugar and corn syrup is in everything. You have to look and pay attention. But here's my real problem. It's with chefs. Because, chefs, I don't use any white sugar in my restaurant. I don't use any at all. I use alternative sweeteners. I'm not condoning alternative sweeteners. But if you must use a sweetener, you want to look at like coconut sap, which is palm sugar, which is very low glycemic, high quality agave, which is low glycemic, high quality raw honey, which is low glycemic, organic maple syrup. Okay, so there are other sweeteners you can use. It's not a pass to use sweeteners, freely, because it's still it's still sugar. It's still a form of sugar because you've taken the fiber away. It's different than a banana. It's different than an apple. It's different than an orange. Once you start taking the fiber away, your body, there's no buffering system. See, the fiber in fruit is a buffering system. So, chefs use sugar like crazy. I've seen this for years. Upon years. A sauce is too bitter, just add a cup of sugar to the sauce. No, make a better sauce. Don't make a bitter sauce. Start over, do something different, Pastry chefs, restaurants, the sugar that goes into food is disgusting. And you see these shows, the Cake Boss and Cupcake Wars, all these things. Those are you're all promoting sugary foods. And these shows inspire people to all of a sudden start a cupcake business. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. For the people that are out there doing it right, I condone you. For the people that are using alternative sweeteners and whole grains and using organic products, I condone you. Great job. But most people aren't doing that. They're just oblivious. They're using trans fats, and it's disgusting. And these chefs out there, you are responsible for the people you're feeding. You're responsible. You wouldn't start handing out cigarettes to everybody, would you? No, because cigarettes, here's the thing. Cigarettes for years upon years were okay? They were okay. People, because they sort of knew they were bad, but people didn't want to realize it, and doctors said they were okay, relax, and it was advertised in medical journals and everything. Now you look at cigarettes, and they're like, wow, that's, they cause cancer. They cause heart disease. Whatever they do, they cause this. There's known links, and people, it's now accepted truth. For sugar, it hasn't been accepted truth. But, we've known it, the information is there. So chefs wouldn't hand out in restaurants cigarettes to everybody who walked in the door, would they? No. But they would be glad to give dessert to everybody. So chefs, you gotta wake up, They go on these shows, they go on these competitions, they add all this sugar, it's cheating. Adding white sugar is cheating. Anybody can take a lemon and throw sugar with it, or strawberries and throw sugar on it, and make anything taste good, because that's what sugar does. It sweetens everything. We're addicted to sugar, okay? We're really designed to eat fruit. We're fruit eaters, okay? That's where our sugar cravings come from. So if you're craving sugar, pick up a piece of fruit. Eat fruit. So chefs that are using all this sugar, which is most of you out there, you're cheating, you're misleading, and you're poisoning the people who you're serving. And it's disgusting. Oh my gosh. So, on the bottom of this video, or actually, if you're watching this video on YouTube, you should watch it on my blog, which is chefonamissionblog.com. The link is here, okay? Right up the first thing on the video on the YouTube here is the link, because I've posted something from Gary Null, who wrote a great investigative report here on sugar, and everything's documented. You can really read and see how everything's documented, the ill effects of sugar on your health, on the environment, for heart disease, current research, the addiction, aging, appetite suppression, sugar and cancer, sugar and cardiovascular disease, sugar and children's behavior, sugar and dental, sugar in the immune system, sugar and obesity. I'm sugar and diabetes. I'm posting all of this. Everything is documented with footnotes, sugar in the environment. Everything is documented there. Gary Null has done a phenomenal job documenting everything. Please share this video, share this blog post, pass it on, spread the word. It's really important to educate your kids. If you're parents, educate your kids about sugar, educate your family about sugar, educate your friends. You wouldn't hand out cigarettes You would not hand out cigarettes. You wouldn't hand out booze. You wouldn't hand out scotch or beer to the kids that come over to your house for Easter Sunday or for whatever holiday, for Christmas or for Valentine's Day. But you or Halloween, you wouldn't hand out cigarettes to kids. You wouldn't hand out, cocaine. But you're handing out sugar that is as addictive as cocaine, that has detrimental effects. Very detrimental effects, all documented here. So you wouldn't do the other stuff. Don't do the sugar. I refuse to do Halloween. I refuse my kids are funny because they'll get, people just give them candy and everything. So they get bags of stuff. They just hand it over to other people and they're like, really? Other people are like, yeah. Kids are like, yeah, we don't eat this stuff. What, are you kidding me? So educate your kids. Your kids will be so thankful. My son in the car the other day was like, Dad, we're listening to all this health stuff all the time. I'm like, Justin, do you know listening to all this health stuff has shaped who we are? It's shaped your athletic performance. Because of a direct relationship to your diet. Yeah, you might have some good genes, but man, those kids that are all sugared out and everything, they can't perform like you. I mean, look at you. You have strong bones. You've never had a glass of milk. You've got great coordination. There's no accident, Justin, that you are a direct product of our diet in this family and your ability as far as a runner, as far as an athlete, as far as your intelligence. That is no accident. This is all related. And Justin was like, yeah, I know, Dad. I know. My kids get it. My kids totally get it because they've never had the sugar. They've never had the crap in their diet. And they appreciate it. They've never been into a McDonald's. They've never been into that. And there's a lot of parents out there that have never taken their kids in. But we're such the minority. And we're looked at like we're weirdos sometimes from the parents who are just lazy, that don't want to accept the fact that you're poisoning your kids with this sugar. And pick up and read a label. It's so easy. The juice boxes, everything. Look at the label. Turn around and look at the label. You don't think that it's loaded with sugar. It's loaded with sugar. So, my kids, fruit and veggies. My kids could live on fruit and veggies. They just love it. Strawberries, bananas, oranges, broccoli, romaine. I mean, my kids just love it. I'm Chef Marcus Giuliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Sugar. Pass this on to everyone. Pass it on to chefs. Pass it on to the so-called ADA dietitians. Tweet this video to hospitals, okay? Because these hospitals hospitals wouldn't hand out cigarettes. Hospitals wouldn't hand out cocaine, but they have no problem handing out sugar to every single patient who walks in the door. They have no problem. This just burns me up. And you get these ADA dietitians that are because that's what happens in most states. Most states have to have somebody who is recognized by the ADAD. The ADAD is a fraud, okay? They get their money from Coke and Pepsi and all big multinational corporations that their main business is sugar. The ADA is a fraud. These dietitians in these hospitals are a fraud. The dietitian at Westchester Hospital, Valhalla, she is a fraud. She is a downright fraud, and telling me that there's no difference in the sugar or the corn syrup for those patients. I want to see her hand out cigarettes to all the patients and say, it's okay, it's not going to cause cancers. No, there's no difference in that. Downright fraud. I'm Chef Marcus Giuliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Let's all together get sugar out. Pass this video on, spread this video, spread the blog, get the information out. Thanks for watching.